Hi folks, I hope you're doing okay. It's Tuesday, the 11th of January. Man, have I had a day. It's 25 to 5, nearly 25. I've just finished work because I had to work late. Okay, my day started with Tobin getting up ready for school, and then as he was at the door about to put his bike helmet on, he's got his bike helmet on, and I said, do you know what lessons you've got? He's like, yeah, I've got science or something. I know I've got science. And I checked his timetable, like his app on my phone, and I was like, you've got this and this and PE. And we both just looked at each other because he has to go to school in his PE kit because they can't change at school because of corona and blah blah blah. So we both sort of looked at each other and went, oh poo. So I was like, get in the house, get changed, I'll drive you to school, because there's no way I got time to get changed to get to school. So he ran upstairs, got ready for school. We rushed him to school, got back, Jack was putting his shoes on, and I just said this, ow, 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 ow. I was like, oh my God, what? I got over to him, and he'd managed to have got a cupboard with the shoes in, and the cupboard door had like slammed to on the top of his middle finger. And luckily it bounced back open because of Paul's got big walking boots, and the cupboard doesn't shut properly, so it slammed into it but bounced back, so it not as much pressure, like he didn't have to try and pull his finger out or anything. So he's got like a blood blister in the middle of his finger, but it was bright red and like massive straight away, and I couldn't touch it. I couldn't do anything with it to see if I could if it was broken or done anything to the top joint of his finger. So I rang school and said I've got to get his finger looked at. I rang work and said I've got to take Jack somewhere and get his finger looked at. I rang Ilkeston Hospital, which is probably about 6 miles away from us, but I know they do like a walk-in and they've got x-rays there. I thought if I take him to the doctors, no, I think I rang our doctors first, and they said he needs probably to have an x-ray. So I rang Ilkeston, and they said if you ring 111, they'll book you an emergency x-ray appointment. So I rang 111 and spent ages giving details and answering questions, and they said they'd get someone to ring me to book us in for an x-ray or something. So I rang Paul in the meantime and said, because I didn't want to send him an email saying I've got to take Jack to hospital, because then there'd be like a million emails back going, why, what, it was easier. I needed to speak to him. Then the doctor rang back, and it was a GP from a local clinic going, oh, it's a bit hard to diagnose over the phone, he really needs an x-ray. I'm like, I know that, you're supposed to be get me. No. So they couldn't refer me for an x-ray. They were like, just go to A&E. I'm like, I could have gone to A&E 25 minutes ago, but I'm going through the hoops that I'm been. So anyway, so I jumped in the car. I had to go and get petrol because I got 1 bar of petrol, on my fuel gauge. So I wasn't going to make it into Nottingham or Ilkeston on that, or I would have, but it probably beeped all the way, and like I want to run out of petrol as well. So I got petrol, and because I was pointing that direction, I drove to Nottingham to Queen's Medical Centre. Drove around for about 10 minutes trying to find somewhere to park. Paid for 8 hours parking because the difference between 4 hours and 8 hours was £1. So I paid £6 to park for 8 hours, which wasn't too bad, to be honest. It's like it's called Car Park 2, but it's like a pay and display slightly out of the main grounds, I think. I don't know. Queen's Med used to have a big multi-storey car park, which collapsed the weekend I was in hospital having Tobin, or at the time I was in hospital having Tobin. They had some major structural issues with it, and it's now been knocked down, so there's not as much parking, and you need a lot of parking. It's a big hospital. So we got to Kids A&E, and we could have only been there about 10-15 minutes, and a nurse came over and had a look, and we'd been told to put a plaster over it because there's a blood blister, and I iced it this morning, and she said from how he was moving it, hush children, no, I'm filming, go away. how he was moving it, she was like, I'm pretty confident that's not broken, it's just bruised and it's going to hurt. So that looks a heck of a lot better than it did this morning.
Yeah, it's not as worse as the other one.
Not as bad. Yeah, but it was like...
It was double the
size. On the end of his finger this morning, so... I said had it been the weekend, I would have perhaps left him at home and seen how it had gone, but it was a choice of, if I had to keep him off school, I had to sort of do something with it. Go away. Away with you. Go and get changed, please, kids. I want your uniform in the wash. Hello? Yes?
Okay.
Uniform in the wash, because I need to wash your PE kits.
Oh, you should check if you're grossed out from injuries, like...
It's just a little thing on your finger now. It's not bad at all.
Give them one.
Go. So yeah, she was confident it wasn't broken, and that was the main thing I wanted to get checked. So we were in and out fairly quick. Took him to school. Explained, to like sign him in. Reason for lateness: A&E trip. Yay. To be honest, the doctor could have probably looked at it and told me it wasn't broken, but I didn't have that confidence in myself to say it's not broken, off you go, because he was in so much pain, bless him. I think a lot of it was like, obviously he had the shock of hurting himself badly, but he was not happy. So, dropped him at school, came back, got on with work. I don't stop for dinner anyway, really, so... But I worked up until sort of 3 o'clock when I went and fetched him, and then came back and worked till 4:30, so... I've made my hours up. Not really that I should have had to, because if your kid needs looking after, they can't. I don't think they can. Because at places where people work, I know that if you have to be off to look after your kids, they don't mark you down as like off sick or whatever, because you've got to look after your kids. But anyway, so I've done my due. I've worked my extra. I've got no crochet shirt. I finished I'm saying egg. I finished the head, the body, and an arm of the frog last night. I very foolishly got my crochet and put it on the sofa this morning so that I could whip up an arm in the 10 minutes I got spare before I had to take Jack to school, but then I had to take Tobin to school, and then all hell broke loose. So at least he's okay. That's the main thing. And we got there and it was not a problem, and yay for real life parenting. And yes, I will drive him to hospital. Paul's never had to drive him to hospital. I've had to do 3 hospital trips now. Once with Tobin when he had tonsillitis and was like hallucinating, and then I had to drive him to Nottingham to find a pharmacy because it was a bank holiday weekend. Yay. And Jack was about 6 weeks old. Then I had to take Jack to Derby A&E because he passed out and banged his head at school and was all fuzzy. And now this. So I suppose 3 hospital trips is not too bad. My sister used to be there every other blooming week and was like, oh, it's a family outing to A&E. Go for all sorts of stuff. I don't know whether we were like, just you'll be all right, get on with it, and didn't take them, but... my kids are less prone to damage themselves. I think they're not as boisterous. My 2, they're quite so far anyway. But yes, so that was my day. I'm not booked for spin, as it turns out. I'm on the waiting list, and I got an email while I was at swimming last night with Jack. That was a palaver as well. Oh my gosh. We got halfway to swimming, and I said, what have you brought to wear after, when you get out of the pool? He says, I brought my onesie. He says, and you've got your towels, haven't you? And he went, no. so I had to kick him out at the leisure centre, get his shoes and his clothes off him, come back out, drive home, fetch some towels, go back. And then by the time I got back, I couldn't actually sit anywhere to see him. So I sat on the other side of the waiting room, which faces like the deep end, like the lane swimming. So I sat there and crocheted for 10 minutes. And then went and got him dry with the towels I'd fetched. So it's back to parenting with a bang these last 2 days. Or parenting and working and schooling and all of that, getting them to where they need to be. So I'm not going to the gym tonight. I'm just gonna sit and try and get my thoughts in order, because it's just been like, go here, go there. Now they're shouting at each other. I better go and get them. My hard drive arrived today in between all of that. And then the Amazon chap was like, have you got your PIN number? I was like, it's not my delivery. And he was like, well, can you get hold of the person whose delivery it is? I was like, oh, you're kidding me. Luckily, Paul was on his lunch. So what's happening? Do I need a PIN for this blooming delivery that's here? Because and he's like, oh, hang on, let me check. I'm like, oh yeah, do take your time. I've got all day. This dude's standing there looking at me. And then he gave me the parcel. He walked off. I came back in here, sat down, started working, and then he was back at the door with 3 more parcels. I was like, why? Why? Got my socks, my like thick socks to go with my walking boots. So I wore my walking boots around to school because I have to stand on the grass when I wait for Jack. So take my boots and get them muddy. I'm going to go see what the kids are doing, figure out what I'm cooking for tea, and then I'm going to sit down. I need a beer. I haven't got a beer. I haven't got a whiskey. I'll have a good strong, well, I don't even have strong tea. I'll have an Earl Grey. I'll treat myself, hey. So take care, everyone. I'll show you some crochet tomorrow. I'm so sorry. That's 2 out of the 11 days of Vloguary that I haven't got any crochet to show you. I could show you an arm, but I'm not going to fetch it. Trust me, I did an arm and a body and a head, but you'll see that tomorrow. So take care, everyone. I will catch up with you with some crochet tomorrow. By hook or by crook, I will get some crochet done. And yeah, bye guys.